Whether you're brand new to a healthy diet and lifestyle or you're thinking about making a big change, you might be afraid that the food is super bland and flavorless, just a bunch of salads.
But I got news for you. If it were really like that, we wouldn't be eating this way.
True that.
Growing up, I definitely ate what you would call a standard American diet, and my food choices were informed by the television commercials I saw and popular cookbooks that were on the shelves and all the convenience items that line the shelves of the grocery store. And I was very ignorant to the world around me of what actually exists that I'm able to eat. Personally, I didn't eat hummus until I was 25, and it took working at a grocery store and scanning things that I didn't know what they were, like kale, collard greens, all the different herbs and spices, till I finally thought, wait a second, there's more to the food world around me than what I've been eating. I've only been eating 10% of all the things that exist.
So you were the one asking the customers what the foods were on the belt?
Yeah, and instead of informing me and being polite, they were like, ha ha ha, dumb.
They made you feel bad about it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
We'll never make you feel bad about not knowing what something is. When I started to learn what eating healthy really meant, I found out that I was in an ignorant food bubble, and there were so many different other cuisines and flavors to try and to enjoy. My preconceived notion of what a whole foods eater eats of just an iceberg lettuce salad was thrown out the window, because all of a sudden I was eating hummus and I was eating collard greens and I was eating stews and I was eating curries. I didn't know what spices were, so I was just trying them at every different opportunity, and it was amazing. It was like getting all of the presents on Christmas Day. It was so wonderful.
And the fun thing about the way we eat is that preparing all these foods, you might think that because you don't know what it is, it's hard to prepare, but we make it so fast and easy. All of our recipes are so simple so that you can get in and out of the kitchen. We are not here for the chefs of the future. We're here for the people who don't care that much and just want to get in and out really quickly. They want the food to taste good. They want to feel satisfied, but they don't have a passion for cooking necessarily. They don't have, I don't even have a passion for cooking, and it's my job. My passion is to teach people, is to show people the way so that they can get their lives and on track the way that they want them to be. That is my absolute passion in life. Just so happens that what we're doing is showing you food, and it does not have to be hard to prepare food that you aren't familiar with. There's a little time period of getting to know what you actually like.
Right.
Your first time tasting kale or whatever else, butternut squash, you might be like, this isn't very good, I don't like this item, and then you just don't eat that item. It's real simple. There are a million other items. Don't worry. And same with herbs and spices. A lot of the time spent is figuring out, do I like this flavor? Do I like this flavor? Do I need to amp it up and use even more? Pretty much all of the food in a standard American diet is flavored with three main things: salt, oil, and sugar. Well, we've got to replace those, because excessive salt, oil, and sugar in your diet is what actually causes problems. High blood pressure, clogs your arteries, makes you overweight, all kinds of autoimmune problems. So we've got to eliminate those, or at least dramatically reduce them, because if you eat food that anyone else has prepared, it's going to be really high in that. So what do we have to do instead, Reeves?
We have to make our own food and flavor them with actual real spices.
Yeah, in order to do that, you got to get to know which ones you actually like.
But there might be this transition period where you're used to this really highly processed foods in your diet, so it might take your senses a little bit to adapt to the whole natural flavor of food. So what you were saying before about trying things and see if you like them, maybe give it a few tries while you're coming down from that adaptation level to actually tasting the real flavor of the food, and you might be really surprised. I mean, both of us like mushrooms, where we grew up hating them. There's tons of foods that I never liked before that I just love now.
A really great way to start testing your palate is to use some seasoning blends like the ones we sell. We sell a lot of different no salt added, whole natural seasoning blends that you can taste and start to add to dishes, and then see, do I like that flavor? Do I like the Mexican flavors more? Do I like the Italian flavors more? Or some Indian food flavors more? And you start to get to know yourself. Also, because you're not using a ton of salt, oil, and sugar, you're gonna have to amp up the herbs and spices a lot. So if you're gonna just try to adapt, for example, a standard American recipe, and you're gonna take out the salt, oil, and sugar, sugar and then just leave everything else the same. It's not designed for that. That recipe was designed to be flavored with the salt, oil, sugar. You can't just expect it to taste good to you without it. So you've got to amp up the other flavors. So that's why it's really helpful, for example, to watch our recipe videos or our cookbooks. These recipes are designed from scratch without those additives, the salt, oil, and sugar. Don't be afraid to use a lot more seasonings than you're used to. And if you're brand new, don't recreate this thing. Just follow our lead. We've made a bunch of recipes so that you don't have to guess. We have like hundreds of recipe videos totally for free here on YouTube. So use them first and start to get to know what you like. And like Reeve said, definitely give it a few tries. Make small portions of things. You can cut recipes in half if you're really worried about it, or if you don't want to waste money on something you might not like. Be a little bit forgiving with yourself and your own cooking skills too that you're going to start to develop depending on where you're coming from. If you're coming from where Reeves came, she had no cooking experience at all. I at least came from a place where I knew what all the foods were. I just didn't know how to put them together right. She didn't even know what the foods were, how to chop them up, how to do any of it. In some ways, that was actually a benefit for you.
Yeah, I didn't have to unlearn anything.
If you're just starting out brand new cooking and you've never had any experience doing it or taking care of the food in your life, don't be afraid. It really is seriously doable. You just need a cutting board, a knife, pot, and a pan. Maybe you want a blender to blend up some sauces.
But we have tons of recipes that are no chop, just add cans and frozen items straight to the pot with a little seasoning blend and you're good to go.
You mentioned that, yes.
Someone like me that doesn't like chopping, I can buy the frozen vegetables that are already chopped for me. Just make sure to pay attention to the ingredients list and get the ones without oil.
And you've got to eat a lot of starches. You know, we don't realize because we're used to getting a bunch of calories from meat or other kinds of foods like that have a lot of added dairy and cheese and things like that. There's this low carb thing going around. I know you've heard of it. Well, it's wrong. You need to eat whole natural starches like potatoes, whole grains, legumes, lentils and beans, corn, peas, winter squash. It's that time of year for that. Those are the things that are going to fill you up. Your body runs on carbs, but you want to make sure they're the actual healthy carbs.
Right.
And too often we're hearing that word carbs and it means bread and white pasta and white flour and cookies and cakes
donuts.
and donuts. Those foods absolutely should be avoided. The low carb people got that part of it right, but what they don't realize is the body runs on carbs. The body runs on glycogen. You've got to eat healthy, whole, natural carbs. If you're just eating a bunch of salads, you are definitely not going to be satisfied, and it's going to end up making you unhealthy anyway because you're not getting the foods that actually are meant to power the human body.
Someone like me who grew up eating the conventional American way, I was used to looking at a plate that had a protein, some rice, and some bland steamed vegetables. And that's what every single meal looked like. Our meals now, they can look whatever kind of way or ethnicity you want to go towards.
Yeah, and imagine if you started with a plate like you explained, and then we were saying, take out the animal products. So now you're just left with a pile of rice and some steamed vegetables with no real flavoring. It just doesn't work. Because you know, we were always chopping up a piece of meat and then scooping up a bite of the other stuff with it. And if you don't have that, it's not going to make much sense. So you need to add richness and flavor to the food so that you can eat it and feel satisfied and energized. Now our food looks totally different. First of all, we are not trying to make one entree with a bunch of sides around it. If we all just eat from one big pot of stew, that's it. You don't need anything else. You can add other things if you want to, but you don't need to feel obligated to do it because of, like you said, what you see on TV or other people doing. All you need to do is fill up on healthy food. It doesn't matter if it all comes out of one pot. Honestly, I'm not saying you need to do this, but when I started eating this way, I ate our Starch Blaster. We have a video for that you can check out, but I just ate Starch Blaster all day long. And all that was throwing tons of whole grains and flavorings and dehydrated veggies into my Instant Pot, turning it on, and I had this thick stew, and I was lifting weights like crazy, which I need to get back into. I was still able to put on muscle by eating tons and tons of starches, because there's gonna be obviously protein in that. My point of this part here is just don't think your meals have to look like they did before. What do we eat? Big one pot meals, stews and sautés days, and beans with greens.
We eat chili, we eat lentil dal over rice.
Don't think that your meals need to look like everyone else's, and don't listen to their crap if they hand it out to you until they start to see you crushing it, and then they're gonna be like,
what you got going on over there?
what you got going on there? It's very rare for someone to be like, I've been eating this way for years and I just don't like the food. It's just not really that common
I
at
mean,
all.
join our Facebook group and you'll just see everybody ranting and raving about the recipes they've created, stuff of ours that they've tried. They love this way of eating and living.
Your mouth will adjust. You will find things bland today that you will find incredibly delicious in a month from now. Be patient with yourself. Give this the fair shot that it deserves. Don't just try at it and be like, well, it wasn't for me, didn't work, because it's definitely going to work. We can help you to make it work. We're gonna put a couple links down below to some free downloads that we think are gonna help you a lot if you're new to this. And one is how to cook with no oil, and the other is a month challenge. You can set up your own little habits that you want to achieve during that 1 month and force yourself to really give it a fair shot. Download those down below. Thanks for watching this video, everybody.
We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.